Hello, stranger. It's been a minute since we last kicked it. And by the way, just got in town.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. I can't stand when I go to YouTube videos and somebody's like, I thought that I would never tell this story. I never thought I would be sitting down and telling this story. I go through most breakups. I'm not gonna say it's the easiest for me to move on past them, but I've never had such a difficult time moving on from a breakup. I did tell this story briefly in the video, my heartbreak and how it changed me. At that time, I was fresh out of the hospital from having COVID, still having a very hard time moving on. And some days I will be like, okay, I'm fine, I don't care, I'm past it. And then other days I'm not. And I was self-reflecting the other day and I was saying to myself, why is this like this? And I came to the realization I never properly released this story. I am still friends with a lot of people that are friends with this person. Because of that, I never want to be disrespectful. When I tell my story times, a lot of them are in the past, and because of that, I feel comfortable sharing them because they're stories from high school or they're stories from, you know, like 2016, and it's been a long time. All parties have moved on. I never feel like I'm disrespecting anybody by telling my truth within that moment, but with fresher stories, I don't want to be looked at as a messy person. You get what I'm saying? And that's why it's so hard having a StoryTime channel. I'm not a savage. Like, as much as I am, you know, I tell my truth and I speak my truth, I make it relatable for other people, I'm not a savage. And in this situation, I would never want to be disrespectful or looked at like that or hinder my relationships with anybody because I'm telling this story. I'm doing a disservice to myself. I'm doing a disservice to my subscribers because this story hurt me. It hurt me very bad. It broke me down. I'm still here picking up the pieces alone. And I feel like I was censoring myself so much in that story. I left out so many details because I didn't want to be looked at as the bad guy. And I'm sitting here in the situation and I'm like, fuck that. I'm not the bad guy. I did not do this. This was done to me. My job. I share my stories with people in order to make it normalized for others, in order to help heal others who have gone through the same thing. This is how I transmute my pain. This is how I take what's happened to me and turn it into something creative to help others. It's therapeutic to me. It's also my passion. Just as somebody would write about a heartbreak in a song, or just as somebody would write about a heartbreak in poetry or a book, I'm doing it in a video, and it's normal. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. Within me telling this story, I want to tell it and then I want to completely move on, never talk about this person again, move on completely and leave this here. And that's it. With this situation, I feel like this is going to be my last puzzle piece. So this is my heartbreak story that happened to me in October. I ask that you guys please be patient with me because I purposely did my makeup so I wouldn't cry, but I already feel myself getting teary-eyed and emotional because this story really hurt me. Oh, shit. This story really hurt me. No. My makeup looks so good. Don't cry. I think more than anything, more than the heartbreak, more than being left, I feel like I felt betrayed by not just this person, but a lot of people. And I'm hoping that this is the last piece before I can just move on and be happy. And the reason why I'm crying is because I felt like with this story, I was... So many people told me just to be silent. So many people told me just to move on. So many people told me that, you know, I deserve better and that I should not be upset over it. And like, I know that. I know that, but I'm human. I have emotions, and it doesn't matter what I should or shouldn't be. What matters is that something happened to me that hurt me very bad. It's not fair to expect somebody to have all these things done to them and then to just tell them to fucking move on. Or just tell them that they shouldn't feel this way. Or just to tell them, like, why are you so worried about him? He's not worried about you. I know he's not worried about me. Like, I know he doesn't care. Trust me. I know that. but that doesn't make it okay. I say that this is in no way, shape, or form to disrespect anybody. I am sending love out to anybody involved in this story. I wish them happiness, I wish them peace, I wish them prosperity, and I hope that they're in a good spot. Let's get into it. This is my heartbreak story. I hope you guys take this with care, and I really hope this helps somebody out a lot. And I hope that after this I can just heal. So I'm gonna gather myself together real quick because we're not gonna cry anymore. We're done crying. We're gonna start all the way from the beginning. So grab your drinks, grab your snacks. I'm having a matcha today, and let's get into this story time. Story time is going to first start out in May of 2021, but before that I want to give a quick backstory. I was introduced to this friend group a couple years ago through one of my very close friends. We all went out to brunch together. They were a great time. They still are a great time. There's a lot of people that are within that friend group that I love dearly so much. Had a great time, and they were great vibes, great energy, and they came into a time in my life where I was very depressed. I was in a relationship with somebody who I'll probably never tell a story time on because he wasn't the problem. The problem is that we just weren't compatible, and I think I told you guys in a couple story times previous that I have a hard time leaving people because I know what it's like to be left, hence this fucking story time. And I don't ever want to make people feel the way that I have felt. I don't ever want to make people feel or do things to other people that have been done to me. So in turn, what I do is I stay longer in relationships and I overplay my part and I stay longer than I should because I don't want to leave them before they leave me. I don't like abandoning people. So I was in a relationship that I wasn't happy in because I wasn't fulfilled. Just because someone's a good person doesn't mean that they're not, doesn't mean that they're a good person for you. So the time when I met this group was also in the middle of the freaking pandemic, and I was depressed about that too. There was just a lot of things going on in my life at that time, and they came into my life when I needed them the most. They were very happy, very vibrant, very cool, and I just loved their energy, right? 2021 comes around and I start hanging out with them quite often. The man I'm going to be talking about in this story, we have to give him a name. What are we going to call him? We're going to call him Trey. So there was a man in this group and his name was Trey, and I would hear people talk about him pretty often, but I didn't know who he was. I had never met him. I didn't know what he looked like. I would just, every once in a while when we would all hang out, somebody would mention Trey. Forward from that, I want to say it was maybe like 3 months later. I want to say that maybe it was like April. One of our friends who does music had an event. I have a couple friends in that friend group who do music, and they are like super duper talented. They are amazing. They really make amazing music. And I like to support them whenever I can. Sometimes they'll have events where they sing or they rap and they have people come, and it's like a big thing. We drink, we have a good time, and it's so much fun. And one of my most fondest memories are like going to their shows. So I went to one of their shows, and lo and behold, Trey was there. And we talked a little bit. Like we joked, like there was something about like how he was getting like Hennessy, and I was saying how Hennessy literally turns me into a crackhead. Like I'm not even joking. I cannot drink Henny ever a day in my life. Henny and me just do not go well together. Hennessy turns me into Sasha 2.0. Sasha is my drunk alter ego, but Sasha 2.0 is the drunk alter ego that you don't want to fuck with. And I don't like bringing her out. I like to keep her under wraps and only take her out periodically, time and time when I need her. But in this situation, I did not need her, didn't want her to come out. So we were joking about it, and I was like, oh yeah, like Hennessy turns me crazy, X, Y, and Z, okay? So that was really all that it was. I saw him, went to the event. It was a great time. We left. That was it. Now, when we left the event, I ended up seeing that somebody had tagged Trey in a picture, and I was like, oh, here's his Instagram. Cool. Didn't follow him. I just saw the Instagram. So May rolls around and Cinco de Mayo comes. And if you guys don't know, Cinco de Mayo is like my favorite holiday, like in the whole entire world, because I love tequila, I love margaritas, and I fucking love food. So basically, we had decided we were going to go to Sasoni Mambo, which is a restaurant in a couple towns over from me, Bridgeport, Connecticut, and Sasoni Mambo would have a big event for Cinco de Mayo every single year, and everybody would go there, and it'd be a fun ass time. There was like 2 DJs there. They opened up the whole entire club because it was a front part that was like usually sectioned off. When they have big events, they would open up the second part of the club, and it was a huge event, right? So I'm so excited. I am getting ready. I think I actually dropped my first Adrian story time around this time, and I remember I was actually getting ready and I was doing makeup, and I was like crying in the middle of doing my makeup because I was reading your guys' comments, and you all were just being so nice, so sincere, and so sweet, and I was like, right in the middle, I think I had just quit my job, like just quit my job in order to pursue YouTube full time. And I was just in like a good spot in my life. I had just quit my crusty, dusty, rusty job with that chiropractor. I was into entrepreneurship. I was doing good, and I felt good, and I had a lot of hope about my future. I had a lot of things coming up, and I was just really excited. So I was getting ready, I was replying to your guys' comments, and I end up going to Sazon y Mambo, and when I go there, I see Trey. So this is like my second time seeing him. So I walk up to everybody, I say hi, and he says hi, and me and him talk a little bit, but not like too much. And it's actually hilarious because that night I ended up getting like, I think I have like top 3 times that I've ever been like super duper drunk. This was one of those top 3 times. I was double fisting margaritas because there was a line. There was a line literally wraps around the building, and your girl doesn't like waiting in line. So what I do if that happens is I'll go up and I'll order 2 drinks at a time. Like I'll pretend it's like for my friend or whatever, and I'll double fist and I'll drink them back to back, and who's gonna tell me any differently? So I was doing that, and then I ended up at the end of the night, I had my friend there, and I was saying to him, I was like, what do you think I should do? Should I get another Patron and lemonade, or should I do like Hennessy and Red Bull? And I was like, you pick for me. And he's like, oh yeah, get Hennessy and Red Bull. Don't ever in your life mix liquors like that. I was drinking tequila, oh my god, and then the girls next to me. So when I go out, I naturally make friends. Like I'm like a social butterfly, you know, like I like going out, I like talking to people, but it's rare that I approach people approach me. I'm not even trying to be that bitch. It's like I'm just like a high vibrational ass bitch in this, like, no, but like I really am though. Like I'll go out and people will be like, hey, come sit in our section and come take shots with us, and like I don't even know them, and they're like girls, not even guys, girls. So these girls were like, hey girl, come over with us and take shots. And they had cups like this, right? Like say like the cup was like to here. So say the cup was this short. They were filling those Ciroc shots up half fucking way, which is a double shot, okay? I took 2 of those. So essentially I took 4 shots. My friend group had ordered a shot of tequila. So I had that. I had 3 Patron lemonades and then a Hennessy and Red Bull. What the fuck was I thinking? So I ended up ordering that. And that night, Trey actually ended up taking a picture of all of us together. And when he was tagging everybody in it, he was like, hey, what's your Instagram so I could tag you? And he tagged me. And then from that night on, I ended up adding him on Instagram, and he added me back. Next day, I woke up with the worst hangover. Top 3 worst hangovers of my whole entire life. I can drink for days, but I know when to stop because I don't like feeling like drunk. I like to feel buzzed. I don't like feeling drunk. I don't ever like feeling out of my body or out of my mind, or like I'm not in control. I'm also a mom, so God forbid one day I'm out and like something happens, like an emergency happens with Aubrey, and I have to like get up and go get her and like be on point. I never want to be like that mom that's like sloppy drunk. So I always watch myself, but there's top 3 times in my life where I have been so hungover the next day that I have considered literally running into traffic. The first one was during the pandemic when me and my boyfriend at the time drank swamp juice. If you don't know what that is, it's Douce and Hypnotic mixed together. Wouldn't recommend it. Second time was Cinco de Mayo. This time I'm talking about. And then third time was my birthday recently. I don't know who let me drink that much, but whoever did, your mom's a hoe. So literally, I woke up and I was so hungover, and I put on my Instagram, I was like, I'm never drinking again. And so he wrote back to it and was like, LOL, I'll catch you at the next event with a Patron and lemonade. See, it's like, it's sad because like I'm revisiting all these memories, and they're just like, I think more than anything, I wish me and this person could be friends because I loved having him as a friend. I loved having him as a friend more than anything. Like, I just loved his friendship, you know? I miss being able to just talk to him whenever I wanted to, you know? But anyway, from then on, we just messaged for maybe like 5 minutes. It wasn't like really anything too big at all. I want to say Memorial Day weekend came up. So the same month, okay? One of my best friends, again, from this friend group, we're just gonna give her name, we're gonna call her Stacy. So Stacy was like, hey, do you want to go out tonight? And I was like, yeah, you know what? Why not? Let's go out. I started to get ready, and then I looked outside, and it was like literally downpouring, you guys, like raining fucking cats and dogs. And I had my extensions in, my lashes on, and I was not trying to get that shit ruined, but I was like, you know what? Let's go out. I wasn't even gonna go out because I hate, if you don't know me, Everyone knows this about me if you know me personally. I hate driving in the rain. I would rather do anything than fucking drive in the rain. I absolutely cannot stand it. I hate driving in the rain. It just makes me so scared. But I was like, you know what? I already said I was gonna go out, and also like I haven't been out in a while, and something was just telling me to go out, but I did not want to. I did want to see my friend, I just didn't want to drive in the rain. So it's crazy because we had plans to go to Sasson again, and we basically had gone to this place called Chubby's, and it's just like a hole in the bar restaurant, and we were there, and I remember my friend was like, you know what, do you feel like going out tonight? Because I really don't. And I was like, girl, if you don't want to go out, that's fine. Like, we could just chill here, we could just eat, we could have a couple drinks, then we can go home. Like, the thing about me is like, I do like going out, don't get me wrong, but like if somebody last minute cancels plans or they're like, hey, do you want to do dinner instead? I am so down for that, girl. I'm always down to go home. Like, I'm always down to go back home. She was like, do you want to just cancel our table at Sasson and we'll go here and we'll just eat and we'll drink, we'll have dinner, and then we'll go home. And I was like, sure. So I texted Sasson to cancel the table, and then this bitch got a margarita in her and was like, I actually want to go out. Like, she went from like, do you really want to go out, to being like, I want to go out. And I'm like, Stacey, I'm gonna freaking kill you. Like, make up your minds, like pick a side. So I was like, yeah, that's fine. And she goes, oh, Trey actually just saw that we were together because we had posted a picture on Instagram or like a boomerang or something, and he was like, hey, where are you guys gonna go? I'll actually come meet you, because he lived in the town that we were at. And she was like, we're gonna go to Sasson after this. So then she was like, actually, let's go to Evolutions. Evolutions is like down the street from Sasson. It's like another, you know, bar slash club. And I was like, oh my God, Cece, make up your ever-loving mind. So we literally went to Evolutions, and it's downpouring, you guys. We had to park down the street and run all the way in there. We get in there, we get one drink, and we look around, and me and Stacey are very much so the same people, where if it's not the vibe, it's not the vibe. Like, we can make it the vibe sometimes, but if it's not the fucking vibe, we don't want to be there. So one of my guy friends was like, oh, hey, like, come to Sasson because I can actually get you guys a table if you want. So we run out to the car in the freaking pouring rain. Stacey texts Trey and is like, hey, we're actually going to Sasson. And he was actually not gonna come. He was like, you know what? You're pissing me off because you can't make up your mind. Where am I going? Like, he literally said, like, the minute he got that text, he was like out the door and he was about to turn around and go back inside. So she was like, no, just come, you know, this guy said that he can get us a table there, one of Dakota's friends. And he's like, okay, fine, I'll come. He lives like literally down the street, so it wasn't like he was going out of his way or anything. But it's funny because I wasn't gonna go out that night. Like, when I saw it starting to pour rain, I wasn't gonna go. He wasn't gonna go that night because Stacey could not make up her freaking mind on where she wanted to go. So it's just, I find it funny how, like, I don't know, to me, like, nothing is coincidental. Like, both of us were not gonna go. Me and Stacey weren't even gonna go out after we had drinks and dinner. And it's crazy how the whole night ended up portraying, you know, coming together. So we end up going to Sasson. We get Patron and lemonades, and we sit down at this table, and we're all just like having a good time. I have a video. I know I always say I'll put like my videos and pictures in, and I never do. Like, I'm so infamous for that, but I promise you guys, I will put it in there right now. I was wearing this Adidas Army, I remember everything about this night. I was wearing this Adidas Army like camouflage shirt with these Adidas leggings, and then I think I was wearing NMDs, and my hair was like curly. I had my extensions in, and I looked cute, okay? When I wear olive green, like, olive green is like my color. Olive green and these eyes were meant to be together, okay? And I'm not gonna lie, it was such a fun time. Sassoni Mambo, unfortunately, is not open anymore. It was one of my favorite places to go. They always had the best DJ. DJ Stutters is the best DJ in Connecticut. I am obsessed with him. Anywhere he goes, I have to go listen to him. Like, he is just such a good DJ. That place had the best just like atmosphere. It was big. It was never like, you could have 1 million people there, but it still wasn't like crowded because it was so big. They had like a whole VIP section with these beautiful white leather couches, 2 bars in there, like multiple tables, like the lights, everything was amazing, and I miss it so much. They unfortunately closed, and the last night that we went was Halloween. That was their last time being open. So RIP to Sassoni Mambo. I hope maybe one day in the future they could open back up. But I heard it's like a meth clinic now, so I don't think that's gonna happen. And I'm thinking after, like I said, I'm always down to go home. Like, I'm never that person after a night out that's like, okay guys, where's the next spot? Like, you know that meme that's like, I hate my friends because they don't know how to go home? Literally my friend group, like, I always just want to go home. I'm like, nope, I'm going home. I want to watch Vampire Diaries or How to Get Away with Murder. with my Vaseline on my face, my skincare done, chilling. Like, I want to go home. So Trey ends up coming up to us and he's like, hey, what are you guys doing after? My friend Stacy's like, well, I'm ready to keep partying. Like, so she's like, I'm ready to party. And he's like, oh, well, if you guys want to come back to my crib, we're just going to have hookah there and drinks, and we're just going to like play Crazy Eights, and it's going to be a fun time. You guys should come. And she was like, yeah, like, you know, Dakota, do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he lived super close to where we were at. So it was like a 5-minute drive. And he ends up, you know, because we don't have each other's numbers. We just have each other on Instagram. He ends up sending his address through Messenger, and we end up going there, and you know, we park our cars, and they were like making fun of me because I didn't know. Even like when me and him started dating and I started going to his house, like his parking near his house was like so confusing. I don't know how to park. If you guys don't know, I would rather eat a denim jacket followed up with a Popeyes biscuit with no drink than parallel park. Like, I am just not the bitch to parallel park. So I ended up going to his house, and they're making fun of me because I can't parallel park. I have to have Stacy come and fucking do it for me. And we ended up going to his house, playing Crazy Eights. It was my first time playing Crazy Eights. I did not know how to freaking do it. We're having, you know, hookah. We're listening to Giveon. Okay, Giveon, such a freaking vibe. Love him. One of my favorite artists, one of my favorite male artists. And we're just having a good old time. And the thing about Stacy is that she doesn't like driving after she drinks, which I totally respect. But like I said, for me, I know when to stop. Like, I'll have drinks, like a couple, and then I'll start drinking water, and then I won't drink anything for like a solid 2 hours, and then I'll go ahead and head home. I never drive home if I like don't feel okay, because like drunk driving is a thing. But I'm always able to like go home because I know how to pace myself. Like, I'll drink water in between drinks. Like I said, I like to feel buzzed, but like not drunk. I don't normally let myself get there. But Stacy likes to, you know, let loose and have fun. She works hard, understandable. So she ended up being like, hey, I think I'm just gonna sleep here. And I was like, oh, okay, well, you know, I'm gonna head home. And she was like, no, like, can you please stay with me? And one thing about me also, I'm just spilling all the motherfucking tea about myself, is I do not like sleeping at other people's houses. I can't stand sleeping anywhere else but my own home. Like, I don't care if it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, or I don't care if it's 4 a.m. Bitch, I'm going home. Like, I'm going home. You don't have my sound soother here. You don't have my lavender spray that I spray before bedtime, my silk pillowcase, my skincare. Like, no. So I was like, you know what, fine, like whatever. It's kind of late anyway. My mom had Aubrey, so it's not like I had to like be home at a certain time or anything like that. So we end up all sleeping on the couch, which is fucking hilarious because it was a tiny ass couch, and he ends up giving us a blanket. And I know you guys are being like, why did you sleep at some random guy's house? Stacy and Trey were good friends. Like, he was a part of this friend group that we were in, but he just wasn't around like very often. Like, he didn't really come out that much, but he would every once in a while. So she knew him for a long time. So like, they were great friends. So it's not like I was sleeping like somewhere random. I felt safe, I felt secure, I felt fine. And he was a very good host. You know, he would like ask us like, do you guys want water? Do you want anything? You know, gave us blankets, gave us pillows, and we're all on the couch. And it's funny because it's like this couch is like this big, but it's like a sectional. So she's passed out on a sectional over here. Trey's in the middle, and then I'm right here, and I literally was so uncomfortable because I had this tiny ass section, and I was just like, oh my god. But I was like, I'm doing it for my friend. I'll just leave at like 6 in the morning. So he puts on the Nicky Jam documentary at the time that had come out, and we were all watching it, and it's like a series. So there's like probably like 8 or 9 episodes of this Nicky Jam documentary. And so we're all watching, and then we're talking, and I look over, and Stacey's like passed the F out, okay? And I ended up falling asleep, but like not very well. Like, I was in and out of sleep. Trey was asleep in like literally 2 seconds. So I was like the only one up, and I end up, you know, somehow falling asleep. Nothing happened. I'm not that type of bitch. Trust me, nothing happened. And at that time, I didn't even find like, I didn't like Trey like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'd seen him out before, and I'm like, oh, he's a cool guy, like, you know, whatever. But like, I never was even like, I had never like been like attracted to him like that before. But something about when we were over made me start to like him a little bit. And I think it was because he was such a good host. Like, he was very attentive, you know, always asked us if we needed anything, would get it for us, would like just like go above and beyond. And something about like good manners in a guy and chivalry is very attractive to me, because a lot of times like guys just don't care anymore. So I remember I ended up leaving that morning literally at like 7 a.m. because I forgot that I had a haircut appointment. So I rushed over to my haircut appointment, went and got that done, was still in the outfit that I wore to the club and everything, and I ended up going home. I was super tired. I was like literally so freaking tired because we had been up like so late. And I remember I was just sitting there and I was just thinking about Trey, and I was like, I think I kind of like him. Like, he's kind of cute. And I ended up wanting to like find an excuse to talk to him, because one thing about Trey too is that he's not thirsty. I don't know what it is about like guys, but like sometimes when it's a guy that's like super interested in you or like just wants to like be with you sexually, he'll go like over the top, and then he like just doesn't put in the effort anymore. But there's something like so sexy about a guy who it's like he knows he can shoot his shot with you but like doesn't, and doesn't seem like he's like desperate, you know? So I found that attractive. I don't know what it was, but I did. And I ended up like wanting an excuse to talk to him. So I ended up texting him on Messenger on Instagram, and I was like, I came home immediately and started watching the Nicki Jam documentary because it was so good, because it was, don't get me wrong, it was, but that was like my excuse to message him. And he was like, oh my god, really, that's so funny. He's like, yeah, you're gonna love it, but it's like super short. And then he was like, yeah, Stacey's actually still here, like she never left, like she's here right now watching it with me. And I was like, oh, I thought you went to work, because the thing about him is that he worked on the weekends. And so he said, he was like, yeah, you guys can stay over, I'm gonna head out early in the morning because I have to go to work. And I was like, oh, like I thought that you had gone to work, because I remember at like 5 or 6 a.m. I heard him get up, and I thought that he would got up and like got dressed and went to work. Turns out that he woke up and realized, why the fuck am I on the couch with them when I have my own whole ass room? He had a whole ass room towards the left that he could have slept in with a whole ass bed, and he was sitting there slumped on the couch with us. That set off the tone for the roller coaster that the story is going to be for the rest of this time. So from then on, we started messaging pretty frequently, and I don't ever shoot my shot with a guy. Never in my life besides this one time have I ever shot my shot with a guy. I always let them come to me first. They always pursue me first. But something about Trey striked different to me, and at the time I was trying to go for different, because I had been through these guys that were just assholes, and I was over it, and I wanted somebody different, somebody new. And he was just kind of cute, and I was just like, I think I'm gonna shoot my shot with him. So I did that by messaging him on Instagram, and then we just started talking from there. Like if I would post something, he would write back to it, or if he posted something, like I would write back to it. And you know, we just like kind of started to talk a little bit, and we began to get to know each other. I started to get to know about him and his life, and what he did for work, and you know, what he did for fun, like things he did on a day-to-day basis. And he started to get to know me, you know, about my life and like what I do on a day-to-day basis. I'm not going to get into like too much details because, like I said, privacy and respect, I still have that. We had a lot of common ground, let's just say that. We had a lot in common. We both were parents, and we both had our kids in like a non-traditional way. And so because of that, we bonded, I felt, because neither of us really could relate to anybody else who were parents, because it was just different than the way that we were parents, if that makes sense. We both kind of like bonded over that, and we both realized that we had a lot in common, but we were also like so different at the same time, which is pretty cool. There was one day where he had like posted like a video that his friend took of him, and he looks kind of cute. So I kind of wrote like the hard eyes back, and that was me like shooting my shot, because I was like, okay, this is getting like too mundane, like I need to do something. So I ended up doing that, and that was me like essentially like shooting my shot, right? And he ended up kind of like responding well to that, and we just had some kind of like flirtatious like banter back and forth, and we just started talking. And I remember that I was going on an Instagram break at this time, which is what I normally do from time to time. I'll take a week off. So I said, hey, I'm actually gonna take some time off Instagram just for like, you know, mental health type reasons. Here's my number if you ever want to text me. Again, that was me shooting my shot, you guys. I never in my life have done this before, only with this person. But I don't know, like I wanted them. So I ended up sending that to him, and then that's how we ended up getting each other's numbers. So there was one night, because this friend group would play like volleyball pretty often. So there was one night where he was leaving volleyball, and he was just like, hey, sorry I haven't, you know, like talked to you. It's just like I was at volleyball, and we ended up drinking like refrescas, and I ended up coming home and passing out, and I was like, oh no, it's okay. And I was like, oh, like I've actually never had refrescas before, they look like they're really good though. And he was like, yeah, maybe one time we can like have some together. And so that was me kind of like shooting my shot, and then like it kind of just like went in, you know, it went in the hoop. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then we started talking about like, okay, so like when are we gonna, like, it's like that like stupid immature shit where it's not, where the person doesn't want to like ask you to hang out because they don't want to like seem desperate. So like you find like common ground, like something you both like, and then you like, that's how you end up hanging out. So like we both liked alcohol, obviously. So he was just like, yeah, like when do you want to drink them together? Like I'm free this day. And I was like, yep, well I'm free this day too. So we ended up confirming a day to hang out. And so we ended up hanging out, and it's like, it's so weird because I don't want to say that like the first time we hung out I fell for him, but I would say that the first time we hung out I pictured what it would be like if we did end up together in the end. Like it's so weird. Like normally, like I always say, like I'll meet someone for the first time and it's like, oh my god, I'm in love with them. Like I didn't feel that right away, but I did feel myself liking him, especially when you add like the mental connection plus the physical. It really does just kind of finalize everything for you. And the thing is that I went into this knowing that it wasn't like we were hanging out to be together. It was just casual. And I'm not somebody who does casual hookups. I don't do casual sex, hang out, none of that. I think that sex should be very intentional because sexual energy exchange and sexual demons is like a real thing. And when you're sleeping with somebody, you're essentially taking on the energy of that person as well as all the past partners of that person as well. So you really have to be careful with that. But in this situation, I was at a point in my life where I didn't want to be in a relationship. I was really happy where I was, but I was looking for just kind of like something casual, and there's nothing wrong with that if you want to do that. And this is the first time that I'd ever done something like that, and I was going into it kind of like not knowing what to expect. Hung out that night, and again, we just got to know each other so well, and it's crazy because when I would talk with him, I just felt like so interested. Like I was so interested in his life, getting to know him as a person, getting to know the things that he's been through, getting to know where he's at now and how he got there. Like he was just always an interesting person to talk to, and I feel like I could talk to him for hours. And when I left his house that night, I left and I just automatically knew I fucked up because I was like, Dakota, you're a fucking Pisces. You can't just be with somebody and have it be casual. Like it's just not who I am as a person. So I kind of like immediately knew that I fucked up, but I didn't know what it was with him. I didn't know if it was going to be long term. I didn't know if it was going to be short term, but I just knew that the moment that I was in, I was thoroughly enjoying his company and his presence. And him continued to just have, you know, we would text throughout the day, we would have casual conversation, and we continued to hang out. Now, the first and second time that we hung out, energy was amazing, vibes were great, everything was good. The third time that we hung out, I don't know what it is about me, but I'm so sensitive to energy, and I can sense when something's wrong. I can sense when someone's pulling away from me, and I can sense when there's something that needs to be addressed that is unspoken. So I went there that night, and after we finished hanging out and I left, I was like, something is off. Like he's not telling me something. There's something that he needs to tell me that he's not telling me, and I don't know what it is. So I left there feeling kind of like uneasy, and then the next day I didn't hear from him all day. Normally he would text me at the beginning of the day or just say something. He didn't owe me like consistent conversation, you know. We weren't like a thing, like we were just casually hanging out, getting to know each other, but I just felt like something was off and I couldn't quite explain it. So I remember I had texted my friend Stacy and I was like, something is off and something is weird and I don't know what it is, but I was like, I need to find out. And she was like, girl, you're tripping, like guys just like that. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Like I felt like when I was hanging out with him, like something was off. So he didn't text me throughout the whole day, and then I ended up texting him and I was like, hey, like, are you okay? And then he ended up responding the next day and was like, this was a Wednesday, and he's like, hey, sorry, I just took like a me day yesterday, you know, I just like really needed to just like be in my own energy and just like spend some time with myself, etc. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, like that's like totally understand that, that's no problem. I'm the same way too. That day goes by, and like I said, you know, they all play volleyball and stuff like that, so I knew he was going to be there and that I wasn't really going to like be able to like have his attention or anything, and that was fine. I let him do what he had to do, and I didn't hear from him for the rest of the night. And so I kind of was already in the mindset of like, okay, you know what, this was just something casual, something that we were doing, but like now I can, you know, kind of move forward and do what I want to do. I'm not gonna like put all my eggs in one basket. Like if you show me that you're not going to give me that same energy back, that's fine. Like there's no worries. We can be cool, we could just be friends, and we could move forward. Like I was sensing the energy that he wanted to stop what we were doing, and that was fine. I didn't have an issue with that. So the next day I'm on a walk, and I specifically remember I was walking around my neighborhood and I got a text from him, and he's basically just like, hey, sorry, you know, like was at volleyball last night, got caught up, but I did want to run something by you. Now let me just say this, that Saturday we were supposed to be going to one of my friend's shows. He said to me, I just want to run something by you. I should have told you from the beginning, but obviously I didn't. But he's like, I've been talking to somebody on and off. He said dating. I've been dating somebody on and off for quite some time now. I'm not sure if you knew about it or not, but he was like, from the jump, it's been super up and down, super rocky, super inconsistent. And he's like, you know, obviously I am not interested in her if I felt okay to be hanging out with you and to be, you know, like intimate with you. So he was like, you know, obviously I don't like 100% have feelings for her if that's the case, so I think I'm just gonna cut things off with her. But he's like, I don't know if I will do this before Saturday, and she's coming to the show on Saturday. And I'm like, I knew it. Like I knew something was going on. I knew in my heart of hearts that something was happening, and I didn't want to believe it. I just wanted to think that I was being crazy, but my intuition was right. Now, I will say, looking back, my first red flag was that if somebody, let me just be clear, he wasn't in a relationship with her, but they were seeing each other for quite a bit. And I don't know, people throw the word dating around like super loosely. I feel like if you're dating somebody but you're not in a relationship yet, you should only be exclusive with them. You shouldn't be like dating them and then be like talking to other girls. But it's weird because like nobody knew about her, because I remember I texted Stacey and I was like, did you know that he was talking to somebody? Because like I'm pretty sure I told you what happened, how we're hanging out now, and you didn't say anything. And she was like, girl, I don't know what he's talking about. I've known him for like 2 years and I've never seen him around any girls. And the same thing with like his Instagram, no girls on it, Facebook, nothing on it. Anytime I'd ever seen him, he wasn't like on his phone or like texting or anything. He never brought anybody around. So from what everybody else thought, like he was single. And so I was very confused. What he does with another girl is what he'll do to you. So the way you see him treat other women, he's not gonna come into your life and then because you're different or because you're spiritual or because you're smart or sophisticated, it doesn't mean that he's going to change for you. A woman cannot change a man. Now, what I will say is that a man can meet a woman, and if he wants to keep her or obtain her, he will change his habits in some situations, and then that will ring true. However, a woman herself cannot change a man. Like, he has to make that change. My first mistake was the fact that he was dating this girl, whatever, talking to this girl, whatever you want to call it, and also hanging out with me. If he does that to her, what makes me think he's not going to do that to me? It's like, and I'm not saying like he cheated on, I don't know, like it's weird. I still like, there's still so many like holes to this story, because he said that they were like dating on and off. So he made it seem like they were on and off, and that during this time they were off, and then he was talking to me, but then it's like, obviously not if you're like hanging out with her. Like, it just gives very much so player vibes. It's like that quote of he'll cheat with you, he'll cheat on you. So I don't know why I thought in any way, shape, or form that my situation with him would be different. So that was my first red flag. So if you're in a situation like that, don't think that it's going to be different with you. What he does to her, he'll do to you and on you. So the type of person that I am is, when a guy says like, oh, I'm going to, you know, leave the person that I'm talking to and X, Y, and Z. It's never just that, right? Like, they'll always be like lingering in the background somewhat. And that's exactly what I told him. I said, well, you know, first of all, thank you for telling me. I appreciate that because most guys wouldn't. So I appreciate your honesty. However, examining the situation, when a guy says he's going to end things with somebody, it's usually never just that, and it's usually, you know, they're still lingering or they're still there, they're still present to some capacity. So I was like, I would rather us just, you know, not ruin the friendship and just stay friends. We can leave what we did behind, and, you know, that can be that, and no hard feelings. And he basically was like, yeah, you know, like, I don't want to ruin the friendship either. And he's like, you know, I love hanging out with you, but like, I understand your decision and I would never, you know, try to make you think any other way. And he was like, you know, I just wanted to be honest because after, you know, looking at this, it's not fair to you and it's not fair to her. And I'm just really sorry. He was very apologetic. So in my mind, I looked at the situation and I was like, oh my God, most guys would have, you know, ran game on me and not told me. So he's a good guy because he's honest. And when I was talking about this with my therapist, and I was talking to her about the situation at hand when all of this, you know, because the story doesn't end here, trust me. When I was telling her about it and I was like crying in her office, she was like, I'm going to tell you where you went wrong. She goes, you looked at the situation and said, most guys would have done this and not been honest, right? They would have like cheated, or they would have, you know, hooked up with multiple girls at once and not been honest. She goes, so in your eyes, that's a good guy. But how about just be with guys who don't cheat? Mind blown. Mind fucking blown. Mic drop. I was like, yeah, that right there, no crumbs left. She ate. Like, she ate. Like, she understood the assignment. Why not just be with guys who don't cheat? And I'm like, light bulb. I was angry. I was mad because I'm like, what is wrong with people? Like, why can nobody just be with one person at a time? I don't understand it. And then what made it worse is I was now going to this event with him there, who I now have feelings for, okay? His, not even to call her the girlfriend because they weren't like officially together, but like his boo, right? I got to see her. And then to make matters worse, right? So this is going to be awkward for that reason. Then I am getting ready, like that day of the event, everything's going wrong. I can't find an outfit. I end up putting on an outfit. It ends up ripping. The button of my freaking shorts ends up popping off and flying across the room. I had to super glue that bitch. I'm getting ready and then I find out that another ex of mine is going to be there. And I had done a story time about him, and he wasn't too happy about it, so he kind of like had it out for me, and he was going to be there. And I'm just like, oh my God, like what are the freaking odds? Like, it's just everything. Like, I really remember I was sitting here and I was getting ready. I looked up at the sky and I was like, God, why? Like, I don't understand why I always get put in these awkward ass situations. Like, literally, my life is like a fucking Netflix movie and not a good one, okay? So I'm already on the way there. I'm already anxious because it's going to be awkward. But on the way there, me and my friend Amanda are like, we want to know who this girl is, like, you know, and I have nothing against her. It's like, I don't know the girl, she doesn't know me. I don't know if she knows what's going on. Like, I have no idea, but I'm like, who's this, like, this mystery girl? So we made it like a thing to like try to see like who she was, and then be like, oh, okay, that's her, like match a face, like whatever. And then that would be that. So we go to this event, we end up having so much fun. It was at this like really nice place in Norwalk, and it was just a really good event. And while we were there, we were trying to figure out who this girl was, because normally, like, if you're together, like, you're kissing, you're dancing, you're holding hands, and like he wasn't hanging out with anybody. So I was like, who is this girl? Like, I don't understand. And then towards the end of the night, we ended up figuring out who it was, and I was like, okay, like, I guess, you know, that's her. All right, cool, like, whatever. Like, now I see who she is, you know, we can all be in the same room and everything could be fine. And I just was like, okay, we're gonna move on now. I saw him, we ended up, you know, saying hi, hugging, and like the whole night was fine. Like, everything was great, honestly. Then we ended up going to like an after party afterwards, and then me and my ex, actually the one who like had it out for me, ended up talking. We talked like the whole night, and I apologize because I understood where he was coming from with, you know, like me like telling the story and stuff. And that's actually the one story time I regret, and I wish I could take it down, but a lot of people actually like love that story, so I don't want to take it down. But I do actually regret putting that up just because of when I told it, I wasn't in the best mental state of what happened, and I felt like I came across as myself, like, I don't want to say evil, but I came across as just like not who I normally am, you know. Like, I talked a lot of crap in that video, and I do regret it. So I did, you know, tell him that I was sorry for that, but then he was like, you know what, like, I'm sorry for doing that to you though. And we ended up making up, so, you know, that ended up happening, and that was pretty good. But remember, I said that my ex was there that night, okay? Now, that night I gave him a ride home. Nothing happened. It was me, my friend Amanda, and him. They live like kind of like on the same street, so I ended up dropping her off, and then I dropped him off, and like that was literally it. Nothing happened. But just remember that I said that I ended up dropping my ex off that night, but me and Trey were not together. He was with another girl at the release party. So like, just remember I said that, okay? Keep that in the back of your mind. So time basically goes on, and him and that girl, Trey, and the girl that he was dating ended up not talking anymore. And me and him never like stopped talking. We were still friends, you know. We said that we were going to keep the friendship, but as much as we tried to like stay away from each other, I don't know what it was, but there was a connection there. Like, there was a connection, and we both just from like day one were like super connected. And as much as we tried hard to like just be friends and just keep it as such, we ended up gravitating back towards one another. And I believe in my heart of hearts that this is my twin flame. And there's a lot of like controversy on the whole twin flame thing. I guess it's said to be true that like you're not supposed to be with your twin flame. You're supposed to meet them, and they're supposed to mirror the parts of you that you need to work on. Like, through this relationship, I found out that I had a lot of codependency issues, and that I, you know, just had like work to do on myself. So I'm grateful for this reason that I had him in my life. But it's just, there's this like connection, like this telepathic like connection. And I can't explain it, but I'm like a firm believer that we've definitely met in like other lifetimes before. And we began to start hanging out again. And while we were hanging out, we didn't like tell anybody about it, you know? And like, that's how I am too. Like, when I first start being with somebody, I don't tell everybody just yet. I want to give it a couple months, get to know the person, see if we're compatible, to then pursue dating and then pursue a relationship, because I never want to be in a situation where it's like I tell all my friends about a guy and then 2 weeks later I have to tell all of them that it didn't work out. So I'm like private when I first start talking to somebody that I potentially do want to date in the future. And the good thing about this was that Trey was like this too, and like he kind of said it when we first started talking. He was like, yeah, I have a no kissing and telling policy. And I liked that though, because like I said, I like to keep things private in the beginning, and then if we see it's going to work out, then we can tell people. But what made this like very sensitive was that we had the same friend group, right? My friend Stacy's birthday ends up coming up, and we weren't like vocal about like what we were doing. Like, we were just like hanging out, getting to know each other, but we weren't gonna like tell anybody, you know? And he ends up he wasn't gonna go at first, but then he ended up coming. He had like a family party at first, and then he ended up coming. And when he was there, you could just like we weren't like kissing or anything, but we definitely were kind of like holding hands a little bit and like flirting, and like we were doing like bachata and dancing and stuff. And like, I think people could like see that like something was going on, because we went from completely not knowing each other to like now we're like dancing, and it's like, what, when did that happen? That was when I could tell like, oh, like I think like he likes me. Like, I think he likes me a lot, because he has a no kissing and telling policy, but he's over here like, you know, flirting with me in front of all his friends. And I was like, okay, like I peep it, like I see you, Trey. Time continues, and we're continuing to hang out. I'm getting to know him so much more. I feel like we have like such like a much more like intimate connection now, because we start talking about like life passions, life goals, where we want to be in 5 years, you know, like things that we want for our kids and stuff like that. And I felt like I was letting him in, but he also was letting me in, and I could tell that he was very like closed off. Like, you know, when you meet somebody, you could just tell they've been like hurt before, and you could tell that they have like a hard time letting somebody in when it comes to being like intimate with their feelings. I could tell that he was that way, but like slowly but surely he was letting me in. And there was this one night where he texted me out of nowhere, and he was like, hey, what are you doing tonight? And I was like, oh, nothing, like, you know, probably just gonna be home doing laundry. And he's like, well, I wanted to know if you wanted to do like a paint and sip at my house, like just me and you, like it would be fun. And I was like, yeah, like that would be so much fun, like let's do that. So I ended up going to his house, and he sets up like a whole entire paint and sip for us with like canvases and wine and like it was just really cute, and it meant a lot to me because, don't get me wrong, I like to be taken out to restaurants and be wined and dined and things like that, but when a guy takes the time to set up like an at-home date night for you, like, that is really special and really, really cool. And I felt like this just like literally came out of nowhere, because up until then, like I said, it was super casual. Like, it was casual. I could tell we both liked each other, but we never kind of like said anything. We were just hanging out. But when he did that, I was like, oh, like, that's putting thought into something. Like, what's going on here? And I was like super excited, because as much as I was like trying to tell myself like, oh yeah, like, you know, like, I don't want anything and blah blah blah, like, I could see myself with him, you know. So we ended up going there and doing that, and then I met his roommate. I also met, you know, who lived above him and things like that. So, you know, on top of this, I'm also starting to like meet people that are important to him, you know. So we ended up having this like whole paint and sip night, and it's funny because I still have the painting in my house. It's actually on the opposite side of my room, and I'm not really sure what to do with it because I don't really want to keep it, but at the same time, it looks good, but I don't know. It just, every time I see it, it just reminds me, and I just, makes me sad, because this is one of like my favorite memories of us together, because it was just fun, you know. And he's like super artistic too. Like, he's great at drawing, great at painting. So I was like, yeah, you're gonna like annihilate me in this. So yeah, we ended up doing the paint and sip, and it was so much fun. One thing about him that I really liked is that he like really supported my channel. He really supported me, really supported my channel, like always encouraged me to film, always encouraged me to do good. And he's an entrepreneur as well, which I thought was just so cool, because we could both understand each other on that level. And I think the most attractive thing about him was this was the first guy that I was talking to that was like stable, like had his own place, had a car, financially stable. There was this one night where at Sassoni Mambo, the place I was talking about, they were having something called a jungle banger, which was like one of the biggest parties of the summer. And basically you showed up in like jungle wear or whatever you wanted to wear, and there was like so many DJs there. And I guess his company was like sponsoring the event, so he had a section, and he was like, hey, if you want to bring your friends, like, it would be really fun. And I was like, yeah, sure. And this was kind of like gonna be our first time hanging out like publicly with like people, like his friends, like around us. Nobody from like our friend group was there besides like one person, and then it was like his other friends, but like we were gonna be like in the public, bitch, okay? So like I didn't really know like how to act around him, or like how to, like, you know what I mean? So we ended up going, and it was like pouring rain. Why is it always pouring rain whenever we hang out? But it was like pouring rain, you guys. It was like literally so bad, okay? And I ended up going, and he bought bottles like literally the whole entire night. He, you know, covered like me and my friends. Like, we didn't have to pay for anything. And that's what I mean by like, he's very like chivalrous. Like, he's very much so a gentleman. Like, I didn't pay for like literally anything when we were together. This was the first person that would like pull chairs out for me, help me with like get my jacket on, like make sure I don't walk on the outskirts of the sidewalk, like open doors for me. Like, he was the first person that really showed me like, damn, like chivalry is not dead, you know. So I ended up going, and I ended up breaking my heels, you guys. My favorite pairs of all those heels that were like $100, and I fucking broke my heel, and I was so mad about it. And he walked all the way in the rain to go to my car to get me an extra spare of shoes, and it just made me like, oh my god, like that's so nice. And all my friends were like, oh my god, like he's such a gentleman, like blah blah blah. And then that night we were like hanging out, obviously, and we started dancing together, and then we kissed. And this was like a big moment, because like I said, he has like a don't kiss and tell policy. And at this moment I knew that we were like building towards something, but we both just didn't like admit it yet. And we were very much so like going with the flow, and I think that's why at first things worked out so good, because we weren't putting a label on it. We weren't even like talking about it. We were just starting out, getting to know each other and letting things happen naturally. But we started to kiss, and it was in front of like everybody, and I was like, oh my god, like, okay, yeah, like this is getting serious. And I think that's the night that I really fell for him and realized like how much I liked him. And I felt like he felt the same way too and noticed it too. So I ended up going home, hung out a little bit more, and then I left. I remember the next day I texted him. I was like, oh, like, sorry about last night. I was like, I guess that broke your no kiss and tell policy. And he was like, fuck my policy. Like, I don't, like, that doesn't matter anymore. So from then on, we started to become a lot more serious, and basically everybody ended up like finding out about us, because there was one night where somebody from our group of friends ended up FaceTiming him. We were like together and we were kind of like cuddling in bed, and he just like answered the phone, and I'm just like, oh, like, okay. Like, cool. And so everyone kind of just basically like the pieces came together, you know, like it kind of like clicked, and everybody ended up, you know, finding out that we were, you know, establishing a connection, and we were talking and stuff, and it was not on the DL anymore. It was like completely out there. We were trying so hard to keep it on the DL, and it was not happening. So going forward, everything was progressing extremely well. I was enjoying so much spending time with him and getting to know him, and I was like really just falling for him. He was just so thoughtful and so like just so kind. Like, he was so nice to me, and it was just so attentive and affectionate, and like every box that I ever had, he checked all of them. And it had been a while, a long time, since I had liked somebody like that. Of course, I've had relationships in between, but they never measured up to what it's like when you feel in love. Like, you know, like when like you like somebody but you don't like love them. I felt myself like falling in love with him. And there's this one night where we were supposed to hang out, and long story short, he ended up like falling asleep on me. I ended up getting like mad because I felt like he was kind of being, you know, inconsiderate of me and my time. So we kind of got into like a little argument about that, because I just don't like for my time to be wasted. I just don't like that. Like, don't fuck with my time. And because we had this little like tidbit of us, like, I wouldn't say like arguing, but we were like disagreeing, we ended up both confessing our feelings to each other. It's kind of like that thing where it's like you both get frustrated with each other, and then you're like, okay, like, I like you, like, you know, and then you end up like confessing to one another how you feel. So we both admitted to each other that we liked each other, and that we want to build, and that I'm sorry. This is just really sad. It's so sad. It's so sad to look back at, because like, you ever look back at something and you're like, oh my God, it could have been so good. Oh my God, it cannot. This is like real-time heartbreak. Like, so we both end up confessing that we like each other, and that we really want to start building towards something and taking it really seriously. And I was just so happy. I was so happy. I was like, oh my God, like, I feel like things are just falling in place, you know? We start going out on like official dates now, right? So we would go out to eat together. We went axe throwing together. We just did like so much fun things together. And what I liked about him is that he was like super adventurous, and I was too. So it was just a good time whenever we were together, and I loved being with him. Oh, normally when I'm with a guy, I'm so protective over my time, and I only want to see them like once a week. But with him, no amount of time was ever enough. Like, the freaking minutes went by like seconds when we were together. And I have never felt that way with somebody before, you know? And I just was enjoying this feeling of like us falling together, and we were so good, you guys. When we got through those little bumps that you first get through when you're trying to like navigate and figure out if you want to be with somebody, we were so good, and he treated me amazing, like a literal fucking princess. And then I remember this was like one of the last good times before we hung out, before things ended the first time. So I met up with him and a couple of his friends, and we, you know, were like having drinks and stuff, and me and him were talking because I had planned a trip to go to Dominican Republic with Stacy, and I had this trip planned out for quite some time. And I talked a little bit about this in that story where it says my heartbreak and how it changed me, but I didn't tell you guys like everything. I was kind of sad for my trip coming up because I was going to be away for a week, and I really was starting to like fall for this man, and I loved being with him, and the thought of not seeing him for like a whole entire week when he's become a part of my routine was kind of like sad to me. And so we were talking about it. He was joking, and he was like, damn, I can't believe like you're really gonna leave me for a week, and like blah blah blah. And we were just like talking about it, and I was just like, oh, like, you're not even gonna miss me. Like, we were just, you know, like joking around, having banter. And he basically told me, he's like, well, enjoy your last trip being single. And I was like, oh, okay, I sure will. Because we were taking our time with things. We weren't like rushing, you know, like we wanted to like get to know each other, establish a friendship, and then down the road maybe be in a relationship. But we were really like intentional with how slow we were moving towards things. But things were just like amazing. They were great. They were so good. And even people around us were like, I like you guys together. Like, you guys are good together. Like, we both make each other like so happy. Like, when we were together and we were around people, it's like nobody else in the room mattered. Like, it was just us two. And there's not a lot of people in this lifetime that make you feel that way. So everybody saw it. Like, everybody was like, even with me, they were like, wow, like, haven't seen you this happy in a long time. And even with him, it was like, wow, like, haven't seen him with a girl like this in a while. And there was actually one day where he had posted me, not posted me, but he posted something along the lines of like having like a boo or something on his like story on Instagram. And one of our mutual friends, I guess, like, you know, put two and two together and figured out we were like talking. And she was like, I've known him for years and I've never seen him like post anything about a girl like on his story. So like, he must really like you. And I was like, oh shit. So like, confirmation left and right that like this is a good thing. So before I went to Dominican Republic, I went to go see him, and I don't know what it was, but when I went to go see him, something felt off. And I cannot to this day, still to this day, put a finger on what it was, but something just felt off. Like, it felt weird. And I was just like, oh, well, maybe he's acting different because, you know, I'm not going to see him for a week, or maybe this and that. Like, I couldn't think of like what it was, you know, but I was like, oh, okay, like, whatever. I'm not going to read too much into it because things have been pretty amazing. He dropped me off at Stacy's house. That way we can go, you know, to the airport at like 4 in the morning. I said goodbye to him and everything was fine for the most part, what I thought. Like, everything was perfect as perfect could be. There was nothing wrong. No arguments, no disagreements, nothing. We were great. I ended up going on this trip, and for the first few days, his texting is very like spotty. Like, I'm not saying like we would talk every second of every day. Like, we both have jobs, we're both busy, whatever. But you know, when you talk to somebody, like, even like, okay, like now, like, I have like a guy best friend, and we call each other like every day at 7 o'clock and just like talk for like the whole night. And during the day we don't talk much, but we talk at night, and we know like that's our time to talk, right? You know, like when like you are really familiar with somebody and you get used to like how long you guys can go without talking versus how much you guys do talk throughout the day. Anybody who's like observant to energy knows what I'm talking about. I noticed that it was very spotty, and it was very like up and down, and it was very weird. And I attribute it to, well, I'm on a trip, you know, I'm in Dominican Republic. It's my first time leaving the country. Maybe he just wants me to have fun. And we're just like texting a little bit on and off, and he's like, hey, I think I'm gonna go out with everybody tonight to dinner. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, like, have fun. And by everyone, he meant the friend group. So he ends up going out to dinner with them, and I see from somebody's Instagram story that the girl that he was dating was there. And this is not abnormal because she's actually close with like some of his family who was also there. And by family, I mean cousins. So it wasn't like abnormal that she was there or anything like that. So I was like, oh, okay. But I thought it was kind of weird that he didn't tell me, because for me personally, if I was going out and somebody that I dated or used to be involved with in the past was there, I would say something. That way I'm telling you and you're not hearing it from another source. You know, like I always say, like, if I have to hear about something from anybody else but you, like, that's kind of lame to me. And also we had made an agreement because when we had officially decided that day to start taking each other seriously, he was like, unfortunately, you know, because she is kind of close to like my family, I can't really like avoid her. She may be around in some situations, but I'll try to avoid them as best as possible. But if I can't, I'll be cordial and respectful to you and let you know that she's there. And I was like, yeah, like I'm not like I'm an easygoing person. Like, as long as you're honest with me, that's all I care about. Like, just be honest, just tell the truth. If he would have texted me and been like, hey, I'm going to dinner, and then he got there and saw she was there, he could have just said, hey, I just want to let you know that so-and-so's here. I'd be like, okay, no problem, cool, have a good time, thanks for telling me. It takes 2 seconds to communicate. So basically she was there, and I was like, oh, okay, like whatever. Like, I wasn't gonna say anything. I was like, that's fine. But I noticed that again, like, he just like wasn't talking to me even after dinner. And I finally addressed it, and I was like, is everything okay? I feel like since I've gotten here you've been kind of distant. And he's like, yeah, sorry, I just feel kind of like socially awkward. I don't know what it is. Like I'm in one of my moods where it's like I just don't really want to like be social. And I was like, oh, well, like, yeah, like I get that. I understand that. But I was like, you know, you could have told me, like, you could have been like, hey, like, right now I'm feeling this way and I don't really want to talk. And I would have been like, yo, like, that's fine. Like, you don't have to text me. Like, text me when you're ready. Like, I get it, you guys. There's days where I wake up and my friends are calling me and I don't want to talk. I just want to be by myself. But I communicate that. I'm like, hey, guys, not having the best energy day. I'll call you tomorrow. Like, just say something, because then what it does is it leaves me thinking that I did something, and maybe that's my own wrongdoing and my own trauma that I have to work through. But I just believe that communication can solve like 80% of the issues that we have with people. And he agreed with me and told me that I was right, and he had apologized, and he said, hey, I think that we're all going to go to, there's one girl in the group, we're just gonna name her Ashley. He's like, hey, I think we're gonna go to Ashley's house. I'm not really sure yet though. I might just go home and knock out because I have work early tomorrow. And I said, oh, well, who's we? Because he's like, oh, I think we're going. And then he named everybody there, but he didn't name his ex. So I was like, why would everybody be going but her, you know? So I guess they end up going there. Actually, I don't even know about him going there because he stopped answering me for the rest of the night. So I found out from other people's like Snapchats and stuff and Instagram stories that he ended up going, and then this Instagram, because this kid, he fell asleep everywhere, so he ended up going there, I guess, and knocking out on Ashley's couch. And you could see in the Instagram story that he's like knocked out on the couch in the back, like falling asleep. But then somebody turns the camera over and his ex is right there, and I'm like, why wouldn't he tell me that she was there? Like, why wouldn't he tell me that she was going? That makes no sense to me. So that pissed me off, because I'm like, you're sleeping, which means that you're obviously sleeping over there, which is fine, like whatever, like I'm not in control of what you do. But again, a heads up or a memo would have been nice. So I wake up the next day and I'm pissed because I'm like, no communication, no letting me know anything. I have to find out everything from everybody else but you. So I wake up the next day and he texted me like everything was fine. And I was like, were you really not gonna like let me know that number one, that your ex was at dinner last night, but number two, that she was at Ashley's afterwards? Like, were you not gonna give me a heads up? Like, you didn't even tell me if you were going to Ashley's or not. Like, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, like if we weren't as serious, I would say like, yes, you don't deserve to give me, I don't deserve answers. Like, you don't need to give me answers. But like, if we're taking things more seriously and we're getting into this dating mode, like, yeah, like I deserve answers and I'm gonna ask questions, because what is going on here? I ended up telling Stacy about it. We had gone zip lining and then we came back and then we were talking about it. We were getting dinner at the resort and she was like, I'm gonna call Ashley when we get back and ask her like what happened. And so we basically got back and she was like, yeah, you know, we ended up just like coming back here. Everybody was hanging out. Trey fell asleep on the couch and like that was basically it. But his ex did end up staying over too, and they ended up sleeping on the couch together, but they were on like opposite ends of the couch. And that triggered the shit out of me, because I'm like, in any other situation, if you hear about the person that you're currently dating and his ex sleeping on the couch together but opposite ends, this is what I'm talking about when I say, why did you not tell me that? Why am I hearing this from everybody else but you? And then like one of our other friends was in the background and they were like, no, like I promise they didn't do anything. It wasn't like that. Like we were all in the same room, like sleeping, like nothing happened. And I'm like, it's not about, and like I do believe that, because after talking to him and talking to a couple other people, me and one of my friends were me and Ashley actually were talking about this like 2 months ago when I was at her house. It was confirmed that nothing happened. Like there was other people downstairs, everybody slept downstairs. They did sleep on the couch, just like complete opposite ends. But my thing is like, that looks sketchy, and why did it come from everybody else but you? And he never planned on telling me. Like, if I had not seen the Snapchats and the Instagram stories, I would have had no idea, and I don't like that. That's sketchy. So I ended up texting him about it, and long story short, he got upset because he felt like as if I was trying to restrict his freedom from him and demand answers and know his whereabouts 24/7, and that was not the case at all. I was just saying, if you're gonna respect me, like respect me. Like if you're gonna say, I'm gonna let you know when she's there, let me know when she's there. Don't say something if you're not gonna do it. So we got into an argument. Like at first he was apologetic, but then he was like, it's like something snapped. I don't know if he talked to somebody about the situation. They were kind of like, oh, like she has you whipped. Like, I don't know if maybe his ego got hurt because he realized that he had to apologize for something. I don't know what it was, but he apologized, and then he was like, actually, everything I just said, I take it back, because if I choose to tell you that I'm somewhere, that's because I'm letting you know, but I am in no way, shape, or form demanded or owed to tell anybody where I'm at or about my whereabouts. Like, he basically was like, bitch, like, take several seats. So I'm like, what the fuck? I remember like me and Stacy were walking from the pool back to our hotel, and like I had my phone like this and I'm reading the text, and like my jaw is like literally to the floor, you guys, because he has never spoken to me like this before. Up until this point, he was like super respectful, super nice, and I just saw a side to him that I've never in my life seen. It's like something fucking snapped, and I was like, what? Like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? So then, remember how I told you guys how I gave my ex a ride home the night of one of our friends' release parties? So I give him a ride home, and like I said, during that time, me and Trey were not together. He literally was at this party with the girl that he was dating at the time. Like, we were not together at all. And he tried to gaslight me and say, you can't be mad at me for this situation because you did the same thing when you went home with your ex. And I was like, first of all, even in another world where me and my ex went home together from that release party, right? Me and you, Trey, were not together. We weren't together. You had a whole girl. So what does that have to do with anything? Second of all, I gave him a ride home, in which my friend was in the car with me when I gave him a ride home. So what are you talking about? Are you okay? Like, that was the most gaslighting, manipulative, reverse psychology shit anybody's ever done to me. And that just like triggered me back to when like Adrian used to do that shit for me. And I was like, you know what? I was like, don't worry about me. You obviously don't care to see that you've done anything wrong. You obviously already have your mind made up that I'm in the wrong and that you are fine and did nothing. And you obviously aren't as nice as you portray yourself out to be, because you're being so rude to me right now. So I said, don't worry about me. Go back to doing what you were doing, and we could just leave this where it's at. Now, words are very powerful. And when I said that, I didn't mean it. What I meant was just kind of like, what the fuck, you know? But I guess he took that shit to heart, because for the rest of that trip, I did not hear from him, you guys. He completely ghosted the shit out of me. On the third day of that trip, would not answer my calls, would not answer my texts, just completely ghosted the shit out of me. Completely just left me. And I'm not even in the country. I'm in Dominican Republic. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to get answers from you. You're not talking to me. And I just felt so upset, and I had to go the rest of the trip like that. Do you know how hard it is to enjoy your vacation when the person that you're with essentially like breaks up with you or leaves you, and you're just ghosted, and you have no form of communication with them because they won't talk to you, and you have no answers, nothing? It's different if I'm home, because I'm like, okay, like, yeah, come here, like, let's talk. But it's like, I'm not even in the country. And the fact that he did that shit to me when I was in the middle of my trip and I couldn't even enjoy it, he ruined that whole trip for me. That whole trip. And my friend Stacy was there, and we had spent, you know, some money on this trip, and I didn't want to ruin it for her. So I had to like literally fake the funk that whole fucking trip and act like I was so happy and act like I was like so into it. And all I wanted to do was fucking cry. I actually did. That night, she ended up falling asleep, and I was outside on the balcony where the hot tub is, and I was hysterically crying, you guys, for like 3 hours. Just crying, because this man, like, this man would not, he wouldn't talk to me. He wouldn't talk to me. And I just felt so like crushed, because I'm like, why? What the fuck did I do? Like, how, when I bring something up, this is what happens? Because I'm saying that I'm not comfortable with this and I wish you would have told me. Like, all you had to do was say sorry. That's all you had to fucking do. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I had to go the rest of my trip like that. And I told myself, I said, you know what? I texted him and I was like, hey, I can tell you want, I need space. I'm going to give that to you when you're ready to talk, just let me know. And I said to myself, Dakota, do not text him until you get home. And so I got home and I unpacked my stuff and I got in the shower and I said, if he doesn't text me by tonight, I'll text him by tomorrow. And I got nothing. So I texted him and I was like, hey, I understand that you want space and I'm giving it to you, but I was like, this is killing me, not knowing what's going on. I was like, if you don't want to talk to me anymore and you want to just go our separate ways, I understand that and you have every right to that. We all have free will. However, this is killing me, not knowing what's going on, and I'm going crazy over here and I can't even function throughout my day because I'm thinking so much about this situation. I was like, please just like let me know what's going on. Give me an answer, something. Nothing. Nothing, you guys. This man did not answer any of my text messages. Nothing. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? Like, what did I do? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand. So, it's really hard for me to look back and remember this because I was so depressed over this situation. Like, I was so sad, I was so depressed, I was so anxious because I was like falling so deep for this kid and he just didn't give a shit. Like, it's one thing if you don't want to talk anymore, okay, but like say that. Don't just ghost somebody, you know? So I basically am like faced with the reality that he doesn't want to talk to me anymore, and that as much as I want to have answers and as much as I want to be with him, that I just have to come to terms with it. And it just doesn't make sense because it's like, how do you have something so perfect with somebody and then you go on vacation and they ghost you and like that's it? So I came to that conclusion and told myself that I had to try my best to move on, no matter how much it hurt me, no matter how much it killed me, that I had to. And I was trying, but I was so fucking depressed. I was in my bed every single day, didn't want to get up. I wasn't filming. I was barely eating, you guys. Like, I was so depressed because I was falling head over heels for this man and he just completely ghosted me. And it was the worst feeling in the whole entire world. I felt like there was a fucking hole in my chest that just never was going to be full again. And it crushed me. And I remember one of our friends was having a birthday and he invited me and my friend Amanda. And then the day of, he was like, hey, can you invite Trey? I forgot to text him. And I was like, we're not really together anymore. 2 hours before the party, my friend Stacy said that his ex on her Finsta account had posted like a video of them like cuddling in bed together. And she was like, I'm sorry I have to like show you this, but like I just saw that they're, you know, together. And she's like, I'm really sorry, but I think that you just like really need to move on. And this was 2 hours before the party, you guys. 2 hours. And I didn't know if Trey was going or not. I had no idea. So I was on my way there, I was driving, and then my friend texted me, Stacy, and was like, Trey's here and he's with his ex. So I ended up finding out that he is going to be at this party like 10 minutes before me and my friend Amanda are supposed to show up. And it turns out that he's there with her. He's there with his ex. And I'm like it's mind-blowing to me. Like, literally this whole entire week that we haven't been talking, I've been thinking like, I don't know what you're doing, or maybe he just needs space, etc. But no, you're entertaining a whole other person while I'm here literally like dying without you, depressed, sulking in bed, etc. And I'm not saying that anybody is responsible for my well-being, but like, you know that I'm feeling this way and you're not even answering your phone. Like, just tell me an answer. Just give me an answer. Like, that's all you had to do. I was so like sad to see him. It was sad. It really was. It made me so sad, but I was just trying to get through the party without breaking down, honestly, because I just wanted to run away and cry. But I decided to face my problems and stay. And it was just, it hurt seeing him because it was like, wow, like what happened? Like, I still don't have any answers. I still don't know what happened between us. I ended up leaving the party early and I was just sad, you know. And the next day he ended up reaching out to me and you know, it's kind of like an out of sight, out of mind thing with guys. Like when they don't want to be with you anymore, they don't see you, like they'll block you off social media, all that stuff. And then when they see you, it's like those feelings hit them and it's like, oh shit, like I'm not over her just yet. I think that's kind of what happened at the party. And he asked me if we could talk, and I said sure. And we kind of, you know, talked about the situation. We didn't meet up, but we talked about it, and he basically was like, you know, like, my bad, like I don't even know why I did what I did. He's like, I kind of honestly like shocked myself even when I, you know, did that to you, and I have no explanation for it. I think that I kind of was just like upset. I felt like I think he felt as if I was like coming for his ego, you know? With guys, their ego is the most important thing to them, and as a woman, I feel like we need to honestly like express when we're feeling something and going through something and hold people accountable. And I think that he wasn't used to that. And I think that, you know, like I kind of just like came for his ego a little bit. He felt like his time and freedom was being restricted, which I never wanted to do. And I think he kind of was just like, F it, like I'm just gonna leave this where it's at. I don't feel like dealing with it anymore, and I'm just gonna go back to what I was doing. And that's exactly what he did. And he ended up, you know, telling me that, you know, like he didn't mean to hurt me and that it wasn't like that. And it wasn't like a direct apology, but it was basically like along the lines of one. I learned furthermore with talking to him that he really had an issue with confrontation and communication, which makes sense, you know, like sometimes people just, they're not like the best at that, you know, and that's okay, you know, like that, like I'm not the best at certain things either. And, you know, throughout this relationship, it was crazy because he actually taught me a lot. Like, I realized that sometimes I wasn't the best at communication, that I needed to be more direct with my feelings. I learned that I needed to be more patient. I learned that I had like some codependency things, because sometimes when I get in a relationship, I'll let everything kind of like fall into like the back burner and just put all of my time and energy into that one person. And I learned a lot from him. And like I said, it was the first guy that I was with that was like very into his career, like established, and he essentially like made me like want to like do more, you know, be better. Then on, we decided to be like cool again, you know, like just let the past be the past and let it stay there, and we'll move on from it, and it's fine. I obviously was still hurt from it, but you know, I wanted to move on. As much as it hurt me what he did, and how anybody would be like, if somebody ghosted me while I was on vacation and then got back with their ex, I would never talk to them again. And it's so easy to say that, and I think now with where I'm at and what I've learned, I would feel the same way, to like stop painting the red flags a different color and take the rose colored glasses off. But when you are like so deeply invested into somebody, you want to give them a second chance. You want to see if people can redeem themselves, and sometimes people do deserve second chances and sometimes they don't. And I definitely can see that, you know, maybe in the situation I wasn't thinking 100% straight, but I wanted to see if we could work out, because I had such a pull to him and deep connection with him, and I had so many feelings invested. So we end up starting to work on things again. Things are going really well, and the more that we are connecting again, the more we're learning about like our childhood, and we're learning about things that, you know, have happened or maybe are affecting us present day. Like I started learning a lot more intimate details about this person, and we saw where we lacked and wanted to like help each other. You know, I wanted to help him with certain things, he wanted to help me with certain things, and it was getting a lot more, you know, serious. Sure, there were like some ups and downs, but we were developing a really strong connection. We ended up going to the Big E together, like a whole friend group went together, and we had such an amazing time there. And just every time I hung out with him, I just fell like deeper and deeper for him, you know? And I could tell that it was the same way with him too. And we just, anytime we did anything together, we just had so much fun, and we had so many memories that we made in like our short amount of time together. Stacy brought one of her friends there to come meet us at the Big E. The Big E is like a festival that happens a state away from me. It's like a couple hours from here. It's like a big festival. They have rides, they have attractions, they have food. Like, oh my god, the Big E has like literally the best food. But we all went together as like a friend group, and me and him drove up together with our other friend. But Stacy, one of my best friends that I was talking about, brought this friend with her, and she did not know like any of us. She was just like there with Stacy. She was new, like just, you know, getting to know everybody. And she was kind of like said what she thought, which I thought was like amazing. Like, I love people like that. And she was like, oh, so how long have you guys been together? And I was like, actually, I don't really know. It's a good question. I was like, we kind of been on and off for a while. And she's like, oh, you guys like aren't like official? And I kind of like looked over at Trey, and I was like, like, so I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, that's a good question. And he's like, no, we're dating. And I was like, yeah, we're dating. Because for this time now, you guys, it's been like May, June, July, August, September. It's been like 4 months, I would say. And of course, during those 4 months, we were a little bit on and off, but like, she's kind of right, you know. We've been like hanging out a lot, and we've been, you know, developing this connection. Like, why are we not in a relationship by now? I want to say maybe it was not too long after that. It was maybe like 3 or 4 days, and we were talking, me and Trey, we were texting, and I was just expressing to him how like I wasn't happy where I was currently in life. I was like, I really want to change my lifestyle. I want to go like inward. I want to start saving. I want to do this and that. I want to like, I have all these like business opportunities that I want to, you know, do and act on. And I was like, I want to, you know, get out of like my imposter syndrome and start, you know, acting on, you know, the things that I'm doing. I was like, I know that if I really like put my mind to my channel, it could like blow up. But I was like, I just can't do it for some reason. I don't get it. I have these like self-limiting beliefs. And we were talking about it, and he was like, hey, actually, let's save this conversation for when we talk about it, for when I see you tonight, because I actually have something I want to talk to you about. And I was like, okay. But before that, he was saying how he was here for me 100%, and how he would, you know, support me in any way that he can, and that, you know, we'll both do it together. And he offered me that support. And like, one thing I will say about him is that he was so supportive. Like, he supported my channel so much. He was all for me, you know, doing what I wanted to do and going after my dreams. And it was comforting because I don't have a lot of people that I can depend on in my life. I'm kind of like that go-to person for everybody, but then when it comes to me, I don't have that person that I can go to. So I ended up going to his house, and I can tell he's like super duper nervous, and he's like, so I wanted to like talk to you about something. And I was like, what? And he officially asked me to be his girlfriend. And he was like, I was gonna do it at the Big E, but then Stacy's friend had to bring up the whole thing, and I felt like if I asked you then, that you felt like I was only asking you because she said something. So he's like, I had to postpone my plans. And we just started like laughing about it, and he got me this like really cute like gift basket and everything, and it was just like adorable, you guys. It was so cute, and I was just so happy because I was like, wow, things are finally falling together in my life and coming together, and I'm so happy about this. And yeah, like it was just a very like happy moment. I felt like all that stuff that we had gone through previously was worth it because of where we were going now. That night he had said to me, he said, I agree with you with like wanting to change your lifestyle, because I want to do that too. He's like, I want to stop going out as much. I want to stop drinking as much. I want to really start saving. I have, you know, all these goals that I want to work towards. Like, we were talking about making like vision boards, and we were actually talking about like opening up our own business together, because he like works on like houses and stuff. So we were talking about getting furniture from the side of the road and like flipping it, because like I have all these great ideas, but I don't have the tools and resources to execute them. And he has all these tools and resources to execute ideas, but he just doesn't have the ideas sometimes. So together, we were going to be like a perfect team. Like, I was going to have the ideas, we were going to execute them together, we were going to like open up our own business of like flipping furniture and selling it. And I was just like so excited. I just felt like, yeah, like and I will say, you guys, like when we were together, we were the best team. We were so good. It's crazy because just like before I left for Dominican Republic, everything was so perfect. Like as perfect could possibly be. And if I knew now what I knew then with what was about to happen in those next like 6-7 days, I don't think anything would have prepared me for it. So one of our friends, it was her birthday, and she was having a game night at her house. And we ended up getting her a cake and getting her presents, and we ended up going, and we told ourselves this was going to be like one of like our last outings before we start really like saving, you know. It was like literally such a good night, so much fun. I was actually planning a birthday party for Trey because his birthday was coming up in the next week. And so before this, I had made all of these amazing plans. I got him a section at Sassoni Mambo that cost me like literally $300. That had food, it had drinks. And I was going to take him to a rooftop dinner in New Haven because he was saying how he loves rooftops, you know, so much. And I put so much time and energy and thought into it. And at that time, you guys, financially, I wasn't doing well. I wasn't in a fruitful season of my life. I had just enough to like cover what I needed, but like nothing extra. I go above and beyond for the people that I love. It doesn't matter. I will give you the shirt off my back. I will give you $5 if I have negative $5 in my bank account. That's just the person that I am. I always like to help others, and I believe it comes back to you. So I had an extra camera, a Nikon camera, and then I have this camera here that's like my main filming camera, but I literally sold that camera, you guys, to help pay for this party because I wanted something special for him. I wanted him to see that he was loved and he was appreciated and that he was valued. And that's just, and people may say like, oh yeah, you know, that's a lot for someone for their birthday, but like that you just started being in a relationship with, but like, I don't care. That's how I am as a person, and that's never going to change about me. I don't care if you're a complete stranger to me. If it's your birthday, I'm gonna make it special. And I don't think that that's weird. I think that people should be grateful to have somebody like that in their fucking lives. Leading up to this party, he was making me feel kind of nervous. I didn't know like everybody that he would want there because we just started like getting in a relationship, you know? So I only invited the people that I thought that he would want there, but it's not like anybody was like helping me and being like, oh, hey, yeah, maybe you should invite this person because maybe he'll want them there. It's like I was doing everything by myself, right? So, and I told, you know, like all of our friends about it. I was like, yes, it's gonna be this day, this time. Don't tell him it's a surprise. Like I really wanted to be a surprise because he always said how he's never had a surprise party before and how he's always wanted one. So like I really wanted to make this like super special for him. Like I literally put so much detail, so much thoughts, so much planning, sold my fucking camera. What ended up happening was he was kind of like putting pressure on me because he would ask me questions and I'd be like, don't worry about it. Your birthday plans are set. Don't worry about it. Stop asking. But then every day he kept asking. And one day he was kind of like, well, you know, this is like a milestone birthday for me. And I just want to make sure that everybody that I love and, you know, and want is there. And I just want to make sure this and that. And he was just like putting, like, I felt like I felt almost like, damn it, is what I'm doing not good enough? Is what I'm doing, is it not going to satisfy him? Is he going to show up and be upset? And so I ended up being like, do you want me just to fucking tell you what I planned for you and you could tell me if I'm wasting like my time and money or not? And he was like, sure. He said, sure. He was like, yes, that's fine. So I ended up telling him everything. Everything that I just told you guys. And this man writes back and was like, wow, that's so nice of you to put in that much thought and detail, but you kind of ruined the surprise for me. I wish you didn't tell me. Somebody told me that they were taking me to a rooftop, expensive, fancy ass restaurant. Okay, fancy. I'm talking there's like sparkling water on the table, okay? Booked a section for me with all of my friends and cousins. I'd be like, oh my God, thank you so much. That is so kind of you. So I read that and I'm just like, that is the most ungrateful thing I've probably ever read in my whole entire life. So when I'm angry, I need to take a step back. I need to take a step back because if not, I'm going to say something I don't mean. That's exactly what I did. I was working on my basement that day, trying to declutter everything while my daughter was in school. I was like so tired because the night before we were at the game night and we were out pretty late that I was pretty tired. So I was like, let me go lay down for a little bit. Anybody who knows me knows that I don't nap. I can't nap. It never works. But this day I was so tired that I ended up knocking out for like 3 hours, okay? And when I knocked out, my phone died. So I woke up and I went downstairs to look at the clock and it was 3:30 and my daughter gets out of school at 3:30. Given she's down the street, so it's fine. I ended up making it there on time. It was cool. But I ended up going there, getting her, coming home, giving her a snack, had to clean up my mess so my cat wouldn't freaking knock all the boxes down. And then I plugged my phone in. So by then it was like 4:30. It had been like an hour. So I plugged my phone in, and as it's turning on, he's calling me. And I was like, hello? And he's like, why haven't you been answering me? And I was like, oh, like, I'm sorry. I explained to him everything, how I fall asleep, how I had to go get her, whatever. And I understand from outside looking in, my story looks sketchy. We were texting, all of a sudden I stopped and then didn't answer him for a good like 4 hours. I understand that, but I really did fall asleep. Like, I really did put my phone down, do what I was doing, came up here, fell asleep. And yes, I woke up at the exact time I had to go get my daughter, because I don't know, I guess luck was on my fucking side that day, because he was saying like, oh, you really woke up at the exact time you had to go get her. Like, that doesn't seem like it's very believable, because when I was sleeping he was texting me, but I didn't know that because I was sleeping and my phone died while I was sleeping. So he basically like wasn't accusing me of doing something sketchy, but he was like, I don't know, something's going on here. And I was like, dude, that was the beginning of the end. He was just like upset with me, thought I wasn't telling him the truth. He's like, when you're ready to be honest, call me back. And I'm like, dude, I wasn't doing anything, you know? So because he was upset, he told me that he needed some space, and I was like, okay, like, I think this is ridiculous. I didn't do fucking anything, but sure, that's fine. And you know, people have trust issues, and I understand that, but for me personally, if I haven't given you a reason not to trust me, especially after the shit you've been doing this whole time, or we're doing, why don't you trust me? Like, what are you talking about? I gave him space, and then that Saturday, our friend ended up finding out that she had COVID. So I went and I got my test done, and I was waiting for my results back. We ended up finding out that I also had COVID, and then I got Aubrey tested and she had COVID. So because of this, you have to quarantine for 10 days. His party was supposed to be the next Friday, and it was Saturday, which means that I had to cancel it, because not only did I have COVID, but our friend had COVID, another one of our friends got COVID, and then on top of it too, I wouldn't be able to be there. So it just doesn't really make sense. So I texted him and I was like, you know, do you still want me to do the party, or do you want me just to reschedule it? He was like, just go ahead and schedule it for the end of the month. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. So I ended up contacting the club, told them about it. They said that that was fine. My deposit got, because I had to put down a deposit, okay, like a big deposit, and they ended up switching it. When I had COVID, the first like 3 days were fine, but by day 4, I was in really bad condition. I was coughing to the point where I couldn't breathe. My oxygen was low, and I had no pre-existing conditions to this, but COVID really whooped my butt. I ended up being in and out of the hospital twice, got diagnosed with pneumonia on top of COVID, and I was just in really bad condition. And I felt like when I was going through this that he wasn't really being there for me. He was just acting weird. Like, the old him would have been like super attentive, would have been probably like dropping things off in my house, asking if I needed anything. But ever since this whole thing with the birthday plans happened, he was acting so weird to me. Like, he used to call me during the middle of the day all the time when he was at work, and we would just like, you know, FaceTime for a little bit, like eat lunch like on the phone together, whatever, and then hang up. We fell asleep on the phone every single night together. Every single night we called each other and fell asleep on the phone together. We stopped doing that. He wasn't like asking me if I was okay or needed anything, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I remember like I said to one of my friends, I was like, he's acting so weird. And she was like, that is really weird. Like, why would he be acting that way? Like, and like, you know, Stacy was saying the same thing, and she was like, I don't understand. Like, why is he acting like that? So so his birthday ends up coming around, and he ends up having just like a little party at his house or whatever. And I'm sad because I can't go. I ended up sending him a whole like $100 edible arrangement because I felt bad that I couldn't like physically see him or give him his gift. And I didn't hear from him, you guys, from that day. I think he stopped texting me around 11, like in the afternoon. Next day comes around, didn't hear from him till like 9 o'clock at night. I'm not even joking, guys. Over 24 hours, didn't hear from him. He didn't text me, nothing. And I'm like, okay, well maybe he's like hungover from his birthday, but that would be fine if I was in a normal state of mind. But I was sick, and this was my 3rd time going back to the hospital. And I had posted on Instagram, because my followers, you guys were asking me to keep you updated, that I was admitted again to the hospital and that I was in really bad shape and not doing well. And he had saw my story but didn't say anything. So hungover or not, if you see that your girlfriend is in the hospital and she's in critical condition, this is her 3rd time in fucking a week going to the hospital, hungover or not, you text her and ask her if she's fucking okay. Doesn't make sense to me. So this time they like officially admitted me, and they were like, hey, your oxygen is really low, your lungs are really not doing well, so you're gonna have to stay here. And this means that I was gonna be away from my daughter, away from my family. Nobody could come visit me because it's COVID and you can't have any visitors. You have to be by yourself and alone the whole entire time. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I was in horrible condition. And my boyfriend, who's supposed to be here for me, isn't even asking me if I'm okay. Isn't even being attentive to me. Nothing. So I end up texting him and I'm just like, hey, I don't know what's going on, but if you don't want to be with me anymore, like, just say that. Because he ends up sending me a whole paragraph back and he's like, listen, I feel so bad that I have not been there for you, for your situation. It's like my birthday came and my ego just like took a hold of me and nothing else mattered. And he's like, I don't know, I really cannot explain to you right now what is going on. It's like ever since I made you my girlfriend, I don't know what it is, but like something has changed. And he's like, I feel so bad that I'm not there for you at a time where you need me the most. And he says to me, I don't know what it is. I see the situation that you're in and the condition you're in, and I just can't get myself to care. Literally says to me, it's like I just can't get myself to care. And he goes, I know that was harsh and I'm really sorry. Like, I'm just being honest. But he's like, I know that I'm probably gonna kick myself in the ass for this later on because you're such a good person. But he was like, I want to back out of everything that we have going on right now. And I'm sorry, and I really hope you get better and home soon. Just completely, at a time where I needed him the most, abandoned me for no fucking reason. Looking back now, I think I know what it was. When I love somebody deeply and wholeheartedly, and with everything in my body, every fiber of my existence, I love them. And I am not that person who holds back when it comes to showing someone how I love them. You know how there's people where it's like, oh, you can't double text, or oh, you can't do this or you can't do that because they're gonna think that you're desperate. Why would I why would I embody a being that I am not? Why would I act like I'm somebody I'm not and not want to text you too soon or text you back too quick because I want to talk to you? Or why would I act as if I am hard to get or closed off? That way you could want me. If I have to act that way, I don't want somebody that wants me in that state of being. I want to be able to be my fucking self and act like my normal self. And my normal self loves. I don't hold back from love. I'm not that person that's like, oh, I gotta wait to show them this. No, if I love you, I fucking love you. My love sometimes is super intense for people because they're not used to it, right? And in a world where people are so restricted and people are so, oh, let me not show this person how I feel about them because I don't want to look vulnerable, I don't want to look weak, or let me not show this person, how I feel or that I have feelings and let me act emotionally closed off. There's me where I don't believe in that because we were brought here to love and be loved. The human experience is all about love and to experience and embody that. And I don't believe in censoring yourself because you don't want someone to look at you as vulnerable or weak. Love is not vulnerable or weak. I think it scared the shit out of him. I really do. And I think he was afraid, and this is just my opinion, I think he was afraid to actually fall for someone and be fucking happy. Where the feelings were mutual and they were equal. So he broke up with me, and within this message he also said that emotionally he feels like he's not together and how he wants to work on himself. And as mad as I was that he left me at a time where I needed him the most, as sad as I was about this happening, in my mind, I said, wow, he wants to leave me to work on himself. I'm so fucking proud of him. And the fact that he was going to be alone and actually work on himself, I was so fucking proud of him, because sometimes when you love somebody, you just want the best for them. You just want them to be happy, whether that's with or without you. And I love this man so much that if him needing to work on himself, improve his life meant leaving me, I was fucking happy for him. I didn't even have time to process our breakup because I was in that hospital for 9 days, barely making it. And I did not have time to process or grieve that breakup because I was just focusing on getting better and surviving and getting out of that hospital to be a mother to my daughter again. And it was such an intense time in my life because I was not able to literally get out of my hospital bed for 7 days. I lost so much muscle mass. I lost so much weight. I was barely eating. I couldn't walk. Like, I literally couldn't walk. I could not get out of my bed and walk because I was in such bad condition. And then when I was able to actually like start getting up and like doing things, your body is not used to you walking because you've literally been in bed for, when I say in bed for 7 days, I had a catheter and everything. I couldn't get up and go to the bathroom, nothing. When I went to go walk for the first time, my legs were so fucking weak. So weak because my body wasn't used to walking again, and I lost so much muscle. Like, even like walking out of that hospital, they asked me if I wanted a wheelchair and I said no because I wanted to get used to walking again. But even like getting up from my bed and walking downstairs, I would like, after I got out of the hospital, was like a 10-minute thing because I had to like basically like teach myself how to like do like walk again and do human things again. So I was focused on getting better, and therefore I didn't have time to even think about our breakup. And he ended up messaging me. Like, I started getting better and I was able to finally get a time limit on when I was gonna be able to go home. And the day before I left, he texted me and he was like, I just want to make sure that you got, you know, the refund from the party. And I said, yeah, I got it back. And I was like, you know, hope you're doing well. And he was like, yeah, he's like, I've been doing great. Thank you for asking. Just like, wow. Just like that, you can just be so head over heels for somebody and it's reciprocated and you're doing so well and you guys are great, and you think that, you know, you're heading into this like fairy tale, and then they just drop you like it's nothing, like you never meant a fucking thing to them. There was one day, maybe like 12 days, right after we officially broke up. So 9 days, left the hospital. 3 days after that, you guys, 3 days after I left the hospital. So a little bit over a week after me and Trey broke up, I'm on his Instagram and he is on a train and he's going to a basketball game, and he has like a cup in his hands, like a cup of wine. He takes a picture and someone's hand is in the background, and I didn't think it was a girl. So the next day my friend Amanda calls me and she's like, did you and Trey go to a basketball game last night? And I'm like, no, why? Like, we're broken up. And she was like, there's a girl's hand in the back of his picture, you may want to check it out. And I was like, oh no, I think that's like one of his cousins or something. And she's like, no girl, that's a bitch's hand. And so I go back to the picture and I look at it and I'm like, it doesn't look like a girl's hand though. It looks like a guy's hand. Like, it really does. So then I go to his ex's page, and like I said, I don't care. Like, at the end of the day, if your page is public, it's public. I will look at your story with my real personal Instagram page. I don't need a fake page. I don't care. Looked at her story, and she also was at that basketball game. And as soon as I looked at that story, I just laughed and I was like, I knew it. I knew it. Too good to be true. It was too good to be true that he was really leaving me to work on himself. I really thought, I felt so stupid, you guys. I really thought that he was breaking up with me to go work on himself. But the whole time, he was just breaking up with me, and then like that, not even 2 weeks, back with his ex. Okay. Like, it hurts me so bad, because how do you do that to me twice? How do you You're with me, everything's great. I go on vacation, you ghost me, get back with your ex. We get back together, everything's amazing. I'm in the hospital. I'm in critical condition, was planning this whole big birthday for you. Everything was great between us. You just named me your girlfriend. And then you break up with me and not even 2 weeks later you're with your ex. Like that song, Traitor by Olivia Rodrigo, literally got me through this breakup because it was word for word everything I went through. Like, yeah, maybe you didn't cheat, but like you definitely are a traitor. And I also don't believe that like we just broke up and then they got back in contact and then started hanging out again. Like I do believe in some part of me that it was a bit premeditated. Like I believe that they probably had a little bit of contact towards, because I know when we were together they weren't talking. I know 100% confirmed they were not talking. But I think maybe when it got closer to when he broke up with me, like maybe like the week before that or the week of his birthday, they got in contact somehow and started talking. Because there's no way like you just drop somebody and you're with somebody again in 2 weeks. Then, you know, time goes on and I have no confirmation on if they're together or not. I just saw that they were at the basketball game. I ended up texting him because he had blocked me on social media and I was like, why did you block me? Like, what the fuck? And he was like, well, you blocked me first. And I was like, well, yeah, like I did, but then I unblocked you. I told him, I was like, I was just upset because I saw that you were at the basketball game with your ex, and like, you know, that hurts because if that was the case, you could have just told me instead of lying and saying that you wanted to work on yourself. I said, I'm pretty sure you have an understanding as to why I blocked you. You're single now and can do what you want, so technically I can't be upset. But I am, because seeing you and her hurt me regardless if it's just friends. Put yourself in my position, everything you've put me through, to see that just did it for me. It just confirms everything I felt was accurate and my intuition is always right. And the fact that you're acting cold towards me when I've never done anything to you says a lot. But you're right, it's probably better like this. We can just keep each other blocked and keep it pushing, and I hope your situation works out. Maybe if it didn't work out for the first year, it'll work out this year. Also, I want to apologize for how I go about expressing my pain. We can't all pretend we don't have emotions like you. If you saw a post and felt it pertained to you, that's your own guilt based off of your decisions that hurt other people that you refuse to take accountability for. That's for you to sort out with yourself, not my problem. Now I'm done. Because he was trying to say to me that, oh, well, you know, like I saw you blocked me, so I blocked you back, but also I was tired of seeing, you know, your stories and being subbed. And I'm like, I wasn't subbing you. Like, yeah, sure, I posted a couple things here and there, like a couple quotes, but I never like directly like wrote out anything. And that's why, like, I told him, I was like, if you feel like a post pertained to you, that has to do with you and the things that you do to hurt people that you don't take accountability for. That means that you thought it pertained to you because your conscience is telling you that you fucked up and did something wrong, even though you don't want to admit it, right? Basically, he just told me that, you know, like he's thankful for the countless chances that I gave to make it work out, and that he holds no negative energy towards me. And I'm like, why would you hold negative energy towards me when you're the one who did me dirty? Like, what are you talking about? In 6 months, it's been a hell of a ride. I have days where I wake up and I'm fine, and I have days where I wake up and I see something and it reminds me of the good times that we had together, and it completely sets me back to square one. And I was talking to my therapist about it because I ended up seeing him out at a friend's birthday dinner last month, and at first I was fine, and I left and I felt fine. I was like, whatever, it's cool, like we're both moved on now. But then I woke up the next morning and I felt sad, and I had a therapy appointment and I was talking to her and I was like, why do I feel this way? It's been 6 months. Why can't I just move on? And she's like, Dakota, I don't care if you were in a relationship 5 months ago or if you were in a relationship 5 years ago. Your grief is valid. And however long you want to feel that grief for, and however long you want to express this pain and feel it, is however long you're allowed to. But she was like, don't stay there. But if you wake up one day and you feel sad, allow yourself to feel. If you wake up one day and you're happy, allow yourself to feel. Allow yourself to feel and sit with the situation and sit with the emotions and ask yourself, where is the root coming from? Because when you treat the root, you can nip it at the bud so it doesn't grow. And I realized in this situation, this relationship triggered an abandonment wound that I have. And I have an abandonment wound from growing up because, you know, my dad wasn't in my life for a portion of time. He is now, and it's great. But there was a portion of time where he wasn't. And I have an abandonment wound from that. And I didn't address it. And so what happened was this triggered that abandonment wound because he left me at a time where I needed him the most. Just like what happened with my dad growing up. And it triggered that. Things that I haven't addressed just yet. And I think that that's what this relationship was brought in my life to do, was to trigger these wounds within me so I can heal from them. And then I can learn and move forward, but also teach other people how they can get through the same thing. And so I think that me telling this story now 6 months later, while I'm still currently in healing from my heartbreak, is that healing is not a straight line. Healing is not a straight line, and one day you're going to wake up and you're going to feel great, and the next day you're going to wake up and you're going to feel like you're back to square one, but that's okay because you're exactly where you need to be right now, and it doesn't matter. And don't worry about what other people are doing, because in relationships, the loyal one stays single until they've healed and actually works on themselves and changes, and the one who wasn't sincere ends up jumping to the next relationship and jumping to the next person. Men, because they're not emotionally intelligent, what they do is they just transfer their pain onto the next person, while we actually sit with our emotions and heal and feel everything and work on ourselves and work on these parts of us that these relationships trigger. They're filling a void with another girl while you're working on yourself. So don't worry about it. I'm telling you, no person who's actually working on themselves jumps into a relationship the second they're out of one. I had to see that, yes, this relationship could have had potential, but you can't fall in love with potential, because when you fall in love with potential, you're falling in love with somebody who's not real, and you're hindering your own growth by sitting there and fantasizing about the things that didn't happen. Yes, they could have happened and it could have been great, but the reality is that the relationship ended for a reason. And instead of sitting there and wondering why and asking yourself why this happened to you, it happened for you, so you could learn, heal, grow, and change. There's a lesson within every single person that comes into our life and leaves our life. And when we stop focusing so much on when the relationship could have been, and we start seeing the lesson within that person that was brought to us so we can learn and we can grow and change, that's the day you cross the bridge to healing. Like, it really is, because then you start to figure out, okay, what was it supposed to teach me? What can I learn from it? And now how can I move forward and hold space for the great memories I had with this person, but honor myself more and know that I'm better off without them. And it's sad, I'm not gonna lie, like at the beginning of this video I was fucking crying, and now I feel empowered because I just let this story go and I'm ready to move on now. I'm ready to leave this in the past, and him and that girl are still together, and I wish them all the best, and I hope they have a great relationship. I hope he's happy, I hope she's happy, but now it's time for me to be happy. It's time for me to leave this in the past, put it in a box, fasten it, and send it off and never open it again. It's time for me to be happy now. It's time for me to move on. If this person who I loved so much and would have moved mountains out of the way if they wanted them moved, was able to fumble somebody like me and move on, and they're living life and they're happy and they're doing their thing, so can I. There's power within realizing who the fuck you are. There's power in realizing you are irreplaceable. I'm not even talking about looks, you guys. My energy and my vibe is not something that you find twice in this lifetime. I am not somebody that you find twice. And I'm not even talking about looks. I am talking about energy. You don't find me twice. Somebody could see all that I am and want to leave that and fumble that. That's fine. That's fine. Don't expect to ever have access to me again. Don't ever expect to have an energy or vibe like mine again. Especially with how good I was. You don't treat people like that. You don't hurt people that God sent to heal you. You don't hurt people that wanted nothing but for you to be genuinely happy and successful and good. You don't do that. There's a difference between realizing something is not serving you anymore versus completely fucking somebody over. Getting the story out, I feel like I just got a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. It says 111 on my camera right now. That's fucking crazy. Not for the time, but for how much time I have left to film before the memory card gets full. But I got confirmation to do this story this morning because my neighbor actually messaged me and she was like, hey, I was on YouTube looking up something and one of your videos popped up and it was the video on how your heartbreak changed you. And I just want to say that I finally finished it and that you did a really good job and like I'm proud of you. Before I opened that message this morning, I was saying out loud, what story time should I do today? Because I've just been like very unmotivated to film lately. And I said, I really want to do the story time on this situation that happened in October. But I was like, I don't think I'm going to. And then I got that message and it was just confirmation for me. And I'm a big firm believer in signs. I'm sure there's some things I left out. If I did, that's okay. I'm ready to officially put this relationship to rest, put this story to rest, never talk about it again. Never open that box again. And I just feel so much better. And I really hope that this story helps somebody realize that when people sleep on you, tuck them in. They made their bed, let them lay in it. Stand on how people last treated you. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. Thank you so much for 18,000 subscribers. I would not be here and could not be here without any of you. I am so fucking grateful. Thank you so much for watching this video. And I am going to go and live my fucking life now. Unapologetically happy. I'm going to create the best life for myself possible. For myself, by myself. And one day I'm gonna meet somebody amazing who worships the ground I walk on, who treats me like a princess, puts me on a pedestal, and I'm gonna look back at these stories and be like, damn, I had to kiss a hell of a lot of frogs to get to my Prince Charming, but here the fuck I am, and I just can't wait for that day. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!
I got the plug, I made the call for free. I'm talking late night, boy.